Hey everyone, welcome to the third live call about Web3, hosted by 45B, funded by Catalyst. We're here to welcome everyone from the outer world that hasn't gotten to know what Web3 is about to come and have a chat with us in an open conversation, and I'm welcoming some people to the stage. And some others are joining the backstage as well. So we've met Aomi before. Hi, Aomi. We have you on screen right now. Can you hear us?
Yes, hi Lucas.
Okay. We are seeing a video of you that's a bit delayed, but we can hear you okay. And welcome to Rafael as well. Nice to have you here. I think it's the first call you've ever interacted with us in this initiative about Web3, right?
Hey, welcome, Lucas. Welcome, everyone. I think so. I think so. In this, yes, but I've been in other calls for 45B for other
Yeah.
initiatives.
We have some about design, some about Cardano governance and funding. So yeah. And we were together just like last week or something in Lisbon, right? So Cardano events from time to time bring us together. So we also have Ugo. I'm gonna add him to the stage, although he doesn't have a camera. Ugo, can you just say hi to everyone? Not sure if his microphone is okay to talk, but he'll probably just be watching us because Hugo is one of the people that has never understood what Web3 is about. And so I was challenging him to come by and have a discussion, or at least watch this session from top to bottom to get a better idea. So if you want, instead of opening your microphone, just drop us a message on the comments side, on the right side of your StreamYard window, or on the private chat, just so we know that you're listening to us okay. Okay, so I'm going to add to the stage my screen, which is something that I always need to use to, there we go, to work and to share ideas with you guys. So yeah, let's start by contextualizing a bit better what 45B is, what the Web3 workshops are about. And then, ironically, we'll get into the main issue of the day, which is disambiguating a bit blockchain from Web3 and all those kinds of things. So I'm just going to show you our website, which is the simplest way I can paint that picture. 45B is our organization. It's a group of different professionals. So we have here designers and educators, technological people, social side people, social educators, for example, in case of Anna. So we're a team that's focused on this technology called Cardano, which also runs a network around the globe that runs what we call a blockchain, which is sort of a data storage for what we're going to detail in a bit. We've also done some local events, like I was saying, where Rafael was and where we meet and discuss face-to-face. I really enjoyed putting those together and having face-to-face discussions with people. And we are hosting this series of Web3 workshops. So it's like open hours like this one. And eventually we're going to have, this is the stage, what we're calling stage one, where everything is live, everything is broadcasted, in this case to Facebook and LinkedIn. X is failing us today. We're going to improve that, but eventually we'll get there as well. And so the goal of these workshops is to be as practical as possible. So if I come back here to this per stage approach, stage one, like I was saying, is live streams weekly and whenever we need them to gather more participants, like Hugo is joining us today, and maybe some more people had confirmed on the event, so hopefully they will join as well. We also have one other person in the backstage that can't really come up. So after stage one, where basically we're going to be demonstrating use cases and experimenting. Today, we're already going to be inviting you to install a Cardano wallet to get started with test money on the testnet for Cardano. After this stage, we transition to stage 2, where we're going to go like into Google Meets calls or something like that, which is more like in a closed working group. And there we understand a bit more the working pieces of how blockchain actually works a bit under the hood, or in terms of concepts. So what is communicating to what is in the company server, what is in the blockchain. So that gets a bit more technical. And we also talk a bit about how it is to run the blockchain, so running a Cardano server or a part of the network, and governing Cardano. So we have all this mechanism in the ecosystem to govern our treasury and our governance actions that change parameters for how the chain runs. So that's very interesting in terms of, let's say, political governance type of the blockchain. For stage 3, we're aiming it at people that have done the 2 previous stages and that are interested in ideating for their business, or for some kind of business scenario that they can imagine. What could they build? And there we get under the hood a bit further to understand this kind of mechanisms we call smart contracts, where there's a rule of or some logic gets constructed and modeled that actually is going to be the pipelines where your solution is going to flow through. So we're quite far from stage 3, but I just want to point out that it is interesting when you're coming from scratch. For example, Hugo, I know, works in or has studied multimedia and design, or that kind of application development type of person. Eventually, it's at this stage that you get to really ideate or find out what you could do in this ecosystem. So if you like to do design, we at 45B even have one initiative just about calls for designers to teach them about how Web3 works. But anyway, this is basically the overall introduction. Any feedback so far, guys? Sounds good? Makes sense? Keep me honest, okay? If there's anything that doesn't make sense to you or that I'm lacking, let me know. Okay, so we have this pretty flyer. Like I said, there's this URL we keep pointing people to, 45b.io/web3. If you're watching us online, hop by there, sign up, and we'll keep you in the loop about all these calls that we're going to be having. Now, let me just come back to our topics. So today we are going to go over this. On previous calls, zooming out a bit, we've gone over the very basics and this. But for today, before recapping a bit what we've done above, let's have a look at who is who. So today we have Lucas, myself, who's an educator on Cardano. And so I'm going to add myself here. I'm not going to share the Miro board with you because I could just add a few stickies for you. But so I'm going to add as well Aomi, who is in the ecosystem, right? But he's mostly a facilitator or educator as well, right? Aomi?
Yes. I'm educator. You mean about me, right?
Yes, what you're doing in Cardano.
Oh, okay. An educator,
And you
an
also work,
interviewer,
right?
an interviewer. What do you say?
Oh, okay, cool. I'll add here interviewer as well. Okay, just zooming this in a bit. And we have Rafael. What would be the word for you, Rafael? What would you say?
It depends on what you want to call it, but we are all many things, right? But I guess I'm building general, so I can have that as the main
A builder, right?
Yeah.
But you also facilitate some phases, some facets of the ecosystem, right? If you want to talk about that in a bit, you're very welcome to, but maybe when we get more into the different sides of Cardano. And like I was saying, we also have Hugo, who's, let's say, I'm going to say multimedia learner. And again, Hugo, if you want, just type it in the chat, on the private chat or on the comments, and we will pick it up. And here I'm going to add. So again, what I'm doing here with MyroBoard, which is this tool with the stickies on the screen that I'm using, it's what we're going to do on stage 2 a lot more of. So from stage 2 onwards, we hope that you guys are going to be with your mouse floating around on this board, and we'll all collaboratively be doing things on the board. So I think I have a comment here from someone. Cool, Randy. Thanks for watching us on LinkedIn, and come by the call next time. Sign up. You'll find our links via links.45b.io. Sorry, I was trying to add someone else to the stage. Okay, if you don't want to add anything, I'm going to move on with the. So I'm saying here, let's see if I can try this feature here. Yeah, Randy, welcome, and keep in the loop. Nice to have you here. So today we don't have Anselmo available to do the direction, so I'm doing both things, inviting people, letting people in, and all that. Okay, so let's just recap very briefly something we've touched on previous calls. What is Bitcoin? What is Cardano? What is Web3? On previous calls, if we go back up, I started by taking you through this kind of route here, right? Where there's crypto, there's a number of I actually literally have here like Ponzi schemes and scams that are usually associated with crypto. But what I mean to say is that out of blockchain, there are several different blockchain technologies. All of them, we can say, derive from the first one, which was Bitcoin. And we are focusing on real-world use cases. So I invite you to go and see previous videos if you want more detail and discussion that we had about this. But just to close on this little recap, by real-world use cases, what we mean is this technology, blockchain, that is just a sort of a online permissionless public database on the internet, can be used to register data particles, not tokens necessarily, not money or crypto or anything like that. You can use the blockchain as a public database to register information, and that can be useful for all these different industries in all these different use cases. So document verification in the public sector, digital identity in terms of digital rights, transactions to pay for your mobile data, and to flow value. What basically Bitcoin, blockchain, Cardano are enabling is that value becomes more fluent as well, more flowable in smaller and more instant portions. So that's basically what we've covered on the first call. On the second one, we detailed a bit further the difference between Bitcoin and Cardano, where Bitcoin is especially, from our point of view, it's especially just sound money, and you shouldn't treat it as a technology to create mostly what I was describing up there just now. Cardano is specialized technologically in catering to this use case of Web3. We even don't cover the crypto side. Obviously, there are tokens on the Cardano chain. We don't really cover those, or investments, or speculative things of any nature. So for us, ADA is a governance token that it's the coin that runs the Cardano chain, and it's a governance token for us to vote in. And like I was saying, I think earlier, decide the future of the blockchain. Okay, so I think we've covered a bit what Bitcoin is and what Cardano is. Web3, like I was saying, is especially these use cases that are not so or not financial at all. And so that's what we are focusing on. For someone like me that's been in IT for 20 years, Web3 is about applications, solutions, information solutions, and has nothing to do with even crypto, let's say. I'm not sure, guys, do you want to add anything? Do you agree with this? Do you have any questions? All making sense so far?
I mean, yeah, no questions. It's broad, so we can add a lot, but let's see where this goes, right?
Cool, cool. Yeah, jump in whenever you want. So, since now I've done this quick recap of what we've done in previous calls, I wanted to detail it a bit further. So in a way, I'll restate things in a different way, so that we can have maybe a bit more understanding than what I've shared in previous calls. And just zooming out quite a lot, if you see, all I'm doing here today is just for the new cohort that is in English. So we've only looked at this in our calls so far, and this is the cohort number 2 that we're running in English. But if we zoom out further, there's all this that has been done before in the Portuguese cohort that ran for 30 calls, and we covered everything very, very extensively, even pilot projects for all the learners. So what I'm doing currently is an exercise of reutilizing information and resources that were done here in Portuguese, bringing them over. So you'll notice a resemblance here between this that was done in Portuguese from traditional money, going through Bitcoin to get to Web3. It's what's written there. And today what I did is I copied this part, translated it to English, and we're just going to have a very high level look at this. So I know that maybe for Hugo or for someone in the call, what I just said rambles into a jumble of words and doesn't really isn't very, very palpable still. So one of the things the way I try to represent it is this simple equation. So before we talk about Web3, let's just talk about this. Okay, we have money plus internet was equal to Bitcoin. This was back in 2009, 2010, when things got kicked off for Bitcoin. But so firstly, let's look at what is this side of the equation. So money, we have here a tweet by Willy Woo, who's an analyst and overall genius in these kinds of topics. And he's saying we're doing a post-industrial revolution transition into the digital age. So where we had commodity money, then we had gold standard for a few years, and we have since 1971 transitioned to fiat money, which means government-only money that's not backed by gold or anything like that. And now Bitcoin is coming in as a digital way of, so let's say a digital commodity, a digital alternative to gold. You've heard all this, right? And the fact is that if we see it from this kind of analysis, this is the very, very quick introduction to Bitcoin. The simplest way that Bitcoin can be explained is because it caters to, it complies to the function, the properties of money. Especially, you can go one by one and confirm that Bitcoin does align with all of these, can provide portability, durability, divisibility, all these things. And this kind of functions of money here is something that takes a bit longer to debate and explain. But in a way, the functions of money, whether it's Bitcoin or not, are that you can use it as a medium of exchange to pay for any purchases that you're doing or any other commercial transactions. You can use it as a unit of account. In this case, Bitcoin still is not that, but eventually, if it continues to grow, it will become stabler and could do that as well. And store of value is also, I was debating it just today with someone where people still don't believe Bitcoin is a store of value. But the fact is that if you look at Bitcoin's history for longer periods than 4 years, Bitcoin has been a very sound store of value, even like providing some income to people. But I'm not going to go much more into that. What I'm trying to point out is that the world pre-internet had fiat money and had gold, and that's it. When the internet came about, it was sort of, let's say, inevitable that eventually we're going to use, so the revolution here before Bitcoin was the advent of internet. So when the internet came about, society changed, social networks came about, everything started working in a very different way in some departments. So it was sort of unavoidable that eventually the internet would sort of consume what was traditional money and yield or generate something different. So different kind of money that started happening after the world had internet, and that is Bitcoin. For me, we have some T-shirts and some things at 45B. One of them is literally a periodic table where we say we have all the elements in the periodic table, all the different physical matters that exist in the world. And Bitcoin is like element 0 because it is a new type of matter, but it has 0 weight. It's digital matter. And because it is digital matter, it can be used the same way rocks or gold or diamonds or something like that. Okay, so what I'm trying to take you over is the notion that Bitcoin is digital material. It's a digital thing that gets to be exchanged on the internet. It only exists on the internet. Hugo, guys, everyone, does this make sense? Do you have any questions so far? Okay, I'll take that as a yes, but really, I'm really curious about your feedback. This is supposed to be as interactive as possible. Okay, we have someone on the chat saying, following keenly. Thanks for your feedback. So this was the bigger thing that happened back from 2009. And let me just bring you back to this. So we're from this point of view, we're just talking about this so far. What happens is, like I said before, Bitcoin lives on the internet. It lives in computers that are all around the globe. These computers are mostly just repetitors, so relays of others' information. So they have like this gossip network where if some transaction happens in Australia, soon it's going to be going through India and echoing around the globe. And that's how a transaction is propagated in the Bitcoin network. And it is persisted, so recorded in this kind of ledger or book that is shared and echoed through all these servers that are running Bitcoin. So focusing on this technology of blockchain, which I hope I've explained a bit. So it's this ledger, this record of all the Bitcoin transactions that are constantly happening and stacking on top of each other. If we look at that, the Bitcoin blockchain really just has one asset. There's only one thing on the Bitcoin blockchain, it's Bitcoin. It doesn't allow you to program your balance or have many any forms of intelligence. You can have some timer locks on Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin blockchain, but that's it. So what happened here is that after a few years of Bitcoin being around, people started thinking, okay, what happens if we take this digital material and we create other technologies that are very similar, but that have more extensibility, meaning that you can have not just the Bitcoin token, the Bitcoin material being recorded and moved in that system. You can have other coins or other tokens. You can have what we call collectibles, for example, things like those. So that's the extensibility part. And then the programmability part has to do with, in Bitcoin, for example, all the addresses and all the wallets are bearer asset wallets. You send something to someone's wallet, that person sends it to someone else. They just have Bitcoin, which is the only asset in there, and that's it. All the wallets are a person's wallet. What we start having with Web3 or with Cardano is this programmability, where instead of sending something from me to Aomi or from Rafael to Hugo, we can have intermediate programmatic wallets, for example, where I can show you here in a very simple diagram. There we go.
Hey, Lucas, I think
My screen froze.
Hugo
Oh, sorry.
is saying he's a bit lost. He's following along, but I guess this is a tip for you to try to put it in some other words, like easier
Okay.
words. And I guess Hugo is a great person for that, as is probably the first time he's getting some of this information, right?
Okay. Yeah. I don't see a concrete question, and I see some detail about him
I
being a
think it
bit
was
in a
more
busy.
when you were explaining the Bitcoin network and the gossiping, then you went through the wallets and all that. So I
Yes.
think it was when you entered more the technical part of the inner
Okay.
workings.
So let's keep it simple. What happens is, in Bitcoin, everything is just okay. We have someone's wallet. Someone, like, if I send you a transaction, you get that money. If you send to that person, to someone else, that's all that
Yeah.
happens on the Bitcoin transaction,
Almost
on the
like
Bitcoin network.
a bank account, right? In terms of the
Exactly.
digital part, but more like a real world wallet in terms of it's in your pocket and you control it. You don't need an
Yeah,
intermediate.
which is great. It's like I said, digital matter is very, very like revolutionary compared to what we had before, because it's completely happening without going through a bank. Without going through any intermediary. It's really just like it's illustrated here, a resilient network of computers echoing that transaction. What I was trying to get to is that on this kind of solution in Web3 using the Cardano blockchain, you can have this scenario where there is what we call programmatic wallets or smart wallets, let's say. And here we have an example where we have someone sending ADA, which is the coin in the native coin for the Cardano blockchain. Next, the other person sends as well a different coin, and this is like a automatic address. It's a programmatic, and it knows that it's expecting one piece of the puzzle from this side, another piece of the puzzle from this side, and eventually this automation is going to say, okay, I have these two things, they are equivalent, and the users mean to translate them, to trade them between each other. So now that I've confirmed that everything is okay, I will defend the interest of both people. And now that I know that both of them have done their part, I'm going to release it in the opposite direction. So this is an intermediation that could be a loan or something like that. But yeah, so this is basically the high level of what Web3 could be. What happens as well is that I gave you a sort of financial example, and I wanted to just zoom out of that and maybe touch on other things. So where, like I said, here we have just one asset, which is Bitcoin. On Cardano, we've already mentioned we can have ADA, which is the coin, the native coin, the native money of Cardano, if you will. And also we can have other things. So if we go, for example, to this website, hopefully it will load. They seem to be having problems. I'll leave it to load for a second. Let's just find it on the other screen. Okay, I have a page here that maybe is a bit more useful. Cardano Foundation, which is one of different several entities that are, let's say, coordinating, not literally running the chain because the chain is running decentralized, but the Cardano Foundation, for example, did this coverage on this project that's running on Cardano. They say redefining intellectual property protection, and they are showcasing the project that I was going to open, which is book.io, saying, okay, now with this kind of solution, the digital publishing industry has they're going to have, like, if we scroll down, if we consume, we see all that's on this page. Basically, book.io created a way for digital assets, digital books, digital music, and other things to exist on the blockchain. So what I wanted to bring you to is the notion that we can have not just matters that are like one amount of Bitcoin is just a number, one amount of ADA coin is just a number. But when you get to Web3, you start having things being transacted that are like objects, like a book or a CD or something like that. You can buy the rights to read a book, and it becomes a better asset that's in your wallet and that you can sell on secondhand market. You can loan to someone. So it becomes a digital thing, not just a digital piece of substance like Bitcoin or Cardano ADA coin. So yeah, I think these are basically the main pillars that I can allude to. Hugo, I'm not sure if you want to add or anything, any questions, but jump in if you want. So if we don't have questions, I'm gonna zoom out a bit more and go back to my topics. Anything from you guys? I have some comments as well on LinkedIn. I think it's a ready concept for LMS platforms. Okay, so maybe it's something that we can take offline and talk about. But for now, the format is really just these live calls and open discussions. We're hoping we have a lot more people joining soon. So it's the participants that are going to continue to lead our path, or to direct our path with your questions. By the way, since I'm pushing some buttons here, if you're watching us directly or asynchronously, I wanted to leave already an invitation to go by 45b.io/web3 to sign up to stay in the loop with us about these workshops. Guys, okay, so any more questions about what is Bitcoin, Cardano, Web3? We have other use cases that we could go over, and I can open them, but for now, let me know. Aomi, Rafael, anything? Do you think you know very well what this is already, right? So you're basically here to share a bit what Cardano is for you. Do you want to jump ahead a bit and touch on that part? From what I said, how are these digital assets being useful for you, and what kinds of applications are you using on Cardano? Any thoughts?
Sure. I mean, do you want me to? I don't know if Aomi wants to go first, but
It's really just maybe you can
talk.
talk a bit about what I just mentioned in terms of, okay, digital coin or an NFT or an asset type of thing, or any other topic. Like what does Cardano mean to you?
No, I think it's a little bit about the transformation we can have in the world. I think blockchain can help a lot with transparency, but also aligning incentives and creating a fairer world in many ways. So I think that's what we're moving through, and I believe that we are at the stage where we need to start creating more use cases for that, and also we need to start bridging from Web3 world to everyone's world, right? And to use the benefits of these technologies for everyone. I think this is something we haven't really done yet, even in the financial space. Maybe now it's starting a little bit with stable coins and stablecoin transaction, which seems like something simple, but is really relevant if you live in a country where you have so many fees to move assets from one country to the other. When you have all these problems and challenges, it's really relevant if you can do the transfer in like a few minutes and have money right away in your account, paying like $1 or something compared to what it is right now. But I think that's the way where we need to go forward. That's a little bit why I'm here, and also why I'm building here, with that intent to bring this technology outside of just the Web3 space, but into industries, into people that can really benefit from it, hopefully without even realizing they're using Web3, but they're just using a product that makes their life better or cheaper or easier in some way.
Yeah. There's a lot that I think blockchain can impact everyone in very different ways. And so it's important that we get there and we keep it very like one case on a one case basis for each user. Use cases can be very, very different.
I think just one thing that is important about, and maybe why Cardano or why I like Cardano, and I think it's not valued. It's like the decentralization part for a blockchain is really important. And sometimes in some blockchains, we are forgetting about that. We are just going for speed, ease of use, and everything. And we don't care about things like security, decentralization, which are like crucial for any use cases, and crucial to have something better than the current systems, because it's the difference between being hostage of a centralized company or a country or whatever, or having a little bit more control and ownership over your life, and with that having freedom, having willpower, which is, I think, something we deserve as humans, and we need to learn how to collaborate, communicate, and work with each other. Align the incentives, and not so much impose things on people just because we have more power or whatever it is. And I think blockchain helps a lot with that and forces people into that if you have these rules written down, and if you give people a way to avoid being hostage of others, right?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for bringing this topic into view, because you're reminding me to come back to this diagram that I don't think I've had shown in these calls. So this is very cliche in our medium, but when you said, try to get people from being hostages of the current solutions into different solutions, you really reminded me of this contrast where, whether it's social networks or financial systems, things currently, I think mostly everyone has realized, for example, the business model of Facebook has become quite predatory to their users. I have like a lot of trouble for some family members to keep them using Facebook in a healthy way, because they're getting so swamped with advertisement. And even if you're paying or something, it's really, really tricky. One day we're going to go over this, the full presentation here, but you can see that the business model in Web3 is different, especially because you have this kind of, like I said, digital objects or digital ownership titles. It could be a ticket to a concert. It could be anything, like a ticket to a football match, or rights to attend a spa or something like that. Any business could start having these kinds of titles that go from people to people as bearer assets. And eventually that changes things, because even if it's a chain of restaurants and they were doing some discounts by affiliation, that people go a lot to that restaurant. Instead of each user having their own points from having gone to the restaurant in their like card or app or something like that, making that from a Web2 solution into a Web3 solution enables the users to exchange those little discount titles between themselves. So that changes the dynamics, where if one person in that group of friends is thinking of going to that restaurant, that person is going to mention it to everyone in their circle of friends, asking, do you have coupons for this restaurant, because I'm going to go there. People can send it to their friends on the Cardano blockchain, and that way the discount goes to the user that's actually going to be benefiting from it. So it changes things for the end users, but it also changes it for the business that was, in this case, a chain of restaurants, so they can think up the discounts and the interactions they can have with their customers in a different way, because they're going to have more people redeeming the titles, but they're also going to have more people talking to each other every time they go to the restaurant, asking for coupons or something like that. So it's really just one example, but we literally have social networks that are based on this kind of blockchain and Web3 stack or solutions. And what we notice, I think, is the typical example would be for YouTube or something like that, or for Facebook. When you're loading content to Facebook, you probably didn't read the small print, but you know by now they own your pictures and they can do whatever they want with them and all that. Especially for YouTube, for example, they can show it, or Spotify, they can show that video, that music, to whoever they want, as many millions of times they want, and they'll give you whatever they want. And if you're not happy, or even if they don't like you, like in Facebook, on Instagram, some people are being deplatformed. So you're limited to whatever they want to give you in terms of value, and you're hostage in terms of not being able to move away, and being able, with the risk of being shut down by them. So on Web3, you own your content. So when you publish things, you're publishing them to decentralized networks, and you get to always defend the ownership. So it's a bit like we were seeing the book.io situation. The people that published books through book.io, they know that their assets are always going to be accessible. They're going to be going between users directly, unlike what happens with Amazon. Or if we go back to the scenario of these kinds of publishing entities like YouTube, you know that you can have your profile published on several different applications, and if that application bans you, your content is still accessible with your same profile without losing your follower base on other platforms. I think that's one of the key points. So yeah, thanks, Rafael, for making me come to this picture here. And it's something that we could maybe add to our future calls to review a bit book.io. So similar to what we've done on the previous call, where we were ideating what we could do on this call, I'm going to add here. So for next call, we could review book.io in detail. I'm just going to add a sticky here. And I think that's it for now. Any thoughts? I see Claude saying on the chat that he's been more and more curious about blockchain since he got onboarded to Cardano. We hope to have you here for a long time. And in terms of comments from the socials, yeah, I think, yeah, we have a lot of people coming by. Thanks for keeping in touch with us, and stay in the loop. I'll put up the link again to sign up or to get in touch with us. So just come by this URL if you want. Okay, it should be around here in your screen. Guys,
Do you think Claude or Clad? I'm not sure if I'm saying his name properly or
yes.
Ugo or Ayomi. Is there like any questions or any topics you'd like to talk about regarding related to Web3, right? If you want to talk about cooking, probably we can talk after the call.
Yeah, I actually have a question. Can you hear me?
Shoot. Yes. Go ahead. Can
Yeah,
you hear us okay? Yep.
yeah. The question is about um the fact that they say in Web3 you own your data. There's this IP thing, this intellectual property thing that companies
Yeah.
do. So that makes you own your data even without like, I mean, those things are Web2, so you own your data as well there. So the owning of data thing, I think it's now both Web2 and Web3, just saying. Or what do you think about that?
So one thing that's interesting and that relates with what you're asking is like a lot of people say, okay, the image is on the blockchain. I see it on a website. However, you have rights to that image, and for example, if it's a book, that doesn't happen so much. But especially if it's just a digital art, it's not just literally a JPEG. And the critics that happens to Web3 is usually that anyone can still do right-click save on that JPEG and have a copy of that piece of art, right? Yes, you can do that, but you cannot copy the NFT, meaning the title that's on the blockchain, that's on your wallet. You cannot go into someone's wallet and get that item. Okay, so in terms of the art itself, you can't simulate that you have a copy of that, a legalized or a owner issued copy of that painting. You can only do that with the blockchain. And then turning to like the legality and how things are enabled in terms of digital ownership rights and all that. Because the ownership title is in your wallet, or it's only possible of being in the wallet of someone that purchased it from the market or from the author or from a previous owner, it's also a lot more enforceable to say, okay, the item is in that wallet. That proves that someone bought it, and what I invite you to have a look is that article that I was just talking about from CF about book.io. I'm not sure if I can still bring it up here. If you see this one, for example, they did a lot of work not just on the, like I said, ownership title that's on the blockchain, but also in making sure that this aligns with the old school rights, so the regular digital rights. You already have a lot of legislation about that. So what this project did is they bridged both things. They made sure that lawyers and people that usually deal with digital rights can still look at this and say, okay, yes, I can read this kind of thing, and I can understand how this is a representation of a digital book. Does that help? So the blockchain doesn't really make sure that you can't copy some files that are on it, but it does make sure that no one can steal an ownership title from your wallet. And from the real world side, these projects are doing the legal work. So the terms and conditions for using this when you go into book.io defend the owner's rights and the author's right and the book owner's rights. So that's why I invite you to have a quick look at this part as well. Does that make sense, Ayomi?
Yes, it makes sense.
So I was giving you a bit of the technical side and a bit of the legal side of it. But we're going to go over book.io in future calls again.
I think an
Rafa.
interesting concept as well is like, for example, picking up on your example of the book.io, is like, for example, you're launching a book and you're launching it as an NFT on the blockchain. And besides giving you control over that book and even royalties and everything that you can enforce, this book cannot be changed. So your original content cannot be changed. And that is something that doesn't happen right now with Web2 platforms. For example, if you launch on Amazon or something like this, there have been cases in the past where you launch a certain content, it could be contradictory or it could have some kind of implications, and you've had some of this content edited or something like that to be able to continue selling on Amazon due to their policies. For example, with blockchain, you can't do that. The owner who bought that copy will always have the original content, and they will always be able to access it, even if the platform is no longer here. And I think that's very different from what happens with Web2 solutions, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's completely different. I think we have someone on the chat saying he would love to see our use case presentation. It's something that we are building as we go. So in the Miro board, we have a number of them already that we've covered with the previous cohort in Portuguese. With this cohort, we can almost say build it as we go as well, build upon what we've done so far. But yeah, these are very, very collaborative sessions, and it's important that you come by and help us build it with you. Just to go over feedback as well, Jared is saying there's tons of opportunities in Web3, especially in the job niche. And I agree, it's a bit what we were saying in the beginning of this call, that if you go through this stage, which is the open discussions, stage 2, which is the experimentation, understanding some technicalities, and then getting to stage 3, that's when you really start seeing, okay, as a designer, I can work in these kinds of applications. Or as someone that's already, so in my case, worked in banking as a business analyst, understanding the requirements of applications, I can now convert my skill set to this technology, a bit like Rafael was saying, and work as a business analyst for blockchain solutions. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Jared. Guys, I'm not sure, we're a bit like on time already. Do you have anything else that you want to cover today, or I just wanted to jump to one more suggestion before we sign off for today?
I think there's just a question from Claude, if you want to answer him. He's asking whether stablecoins can eventually replace local currencies in emerging economies in the coming years. Maybe you can say a little bit about that, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah. So it is an interesting question. I can't really bring it up on screen, but it literally is what you just mentioned, Rafael. Thanks. So I think it's interesting because we are in the process of getting a new stable coin on Cardano currently. And just for someone that has never really heard about these, like I was saying, we have Bitcoin and we have ADA coin on the Cardano blockchain, and we can have a number of other tokens, let's say. Some of those tokens are equivalent to dollars. So 1 unit of that token or 10 units of that token is equivalent to 10 units of dollar. It can be exchanged one for one. So the question, if they can replace local currencies, is very, very tricky. But I think the answer is that it already is doing it in some regions. That's why with this cohort, we want to take this initiative a bit more global. Aomi, for example, probably has an answer from your location about stablecoins. Do you see them used on the ground, or not so much for now? Aomi, so I was asking about stablecoins, digital stablecoins. Do you see them used like in shops or in exchange houses around there? Can you tell us, remind us where you're coming from?
I'm from Lagos, Nigeria.
Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah. But I know that in some communities, some things start being used, like in some regions of the world, I'm not sure if it's Argentina or other places, people are using stable coins, which are equivalent to dollar, like crypto equivalents to dollar. They're using stable coins to escape inflation in their country. So instead of having the bank manage all their assets, all their balances in local currencies, people started using stable coins to
Yeah.
save in something that's dollar denominated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think overall they can, just to close on the answer to Claude, I think eventually they can be in the picture, but I don't think it's going to replace them completely that soon for sure.
Yeah, probably more just when you have inflationary problems or something like that, then you have to use something else, and then they can play a bigger role. But
Yeah.
otherwise, the government in the country will try to avoid that because they would lose control over their currency and over the economy as well in some ways. Because right now, monetary policy plays a big role in the economy.
And it will continue to do so. It's just a matter of, like, I don't advocate that everything's going to change and only Bitcoin is going to exist, but it is important more and more that you have some literacy about what Bitcoin is, and so that's what we're here for, so that you can have different options, let's say. Guys, the only use case that we saw today was this. There is, for example, Cardano Cube that we can go to see a number of applications that are on the Cardano blockchain. So here, some of them are mostly like wallets or financial solutions, but others like, let me see if I can find here. For example, here on the NFT side, we have art in different forms. And for governance, it's something that we eventually are going to explore as well, different governance tooling for Cardano. Yeah, there's gaming, there's other things that eventually is going to come up in our radar, in our calls, and hopefully we can demo it live. So these calls, I wanted to make this cohort a lot more practical. For now, we're really just introducing people from the basic concepts. But yeah, so I'm gonna drop this Cardano Cube link on our Miro board too. Hugo is back with us. Welcome back. And we should go back to Cardano Cube soon. Oops. Hugo, last chance to drop us any question on the chat if you have any. Otherwise, we hope to see you next time as well for any other follow-ups. Okay, so we have this now here. I'm going to add here as well more things from Cardano Cube. And what I wanted to talk to you about before we go is literally this point here. It's literally just for you to be challenged, if you're watching us, if you haven't experimented with this, to install a Cardano wallet and eventually switch it towards the testnet. So I'm going to try to do, this is the thing I usually do on session 1, and we're already on session 3 here. I didn't want to finish this one before doing this. I have these little seed phrase cards that we usually print and hand out in events where we go. So this is the typical image that we use to present Web3 to people, where we have 45B on the back of the card. It's a foldable card. And yeah, Bitcoin, Cardano, Monero, for example, is something that we think people should know exists, to contrast with the other ones, especially these three. And so what I wanted to share is invite you guys to go to vesper.xyz. And firstly, have a look from top to bottom. It should be self-explanatory. And yeah, it's a basic, or not basic, but very user-friendly wallet for Cardano. It's the one that we are partnering with to do these sessions and in-person sessions. It allows you to send and receive transactions of Cardano, to swap between different tokens that exist on Cardano. It also has a nice way of showing you if you have these kinds of collectibles, which basically it's something that I should have detailed a bit further, but let's not go into it today. But maybe I'll add a note to the next session to look into collectibles a bit further. And yeah, I invite you to have a look from top to bottom, scroll down, and eventually scan this with your phone to get the application. Here you can see a lot of screens. You don't need to worry that much for now, because what we're going to do is very similar to what I'm going to do on screen, which ends in switching your wallet from the real Cardano chain, because we're just learning and we want to keep things very, very simple and without risks for you. We're going to invite you to install it, and then you'll see something like I have on screen. Whether it's on your computer, by the way, you can also do it on a computer nowadays as a browser extension, or you can install it as a mobile app. When you get here, you see this interface. You create a new wallet. It's important that you read through things in a bit more careful manner than I'm doing here, but I'm just going to progress. And here, the application is creating a wallet for me. I need to enter a password. I'm just going to write something simple for the demo. Here we go. I can, in this case, it's just a simple demo. So I'm just going to add a simple password, or you can add something that's really just for us to play around with, because we're going to turn it to the test network. And here we get to, oh, so I need to add one more symbol or something like that. Oh, one uppercase character. So just going to add here a capital A. That's it. Sorry. Okay, this is very important. That's why we use these cards that I was showing you. If it was a real Cardano wallet, you would want to have a piece of paper or a card like this or something like that, where you would make note of your seed phrase for future recovering. And I'm not sure I'm getting my password correctly here, so I'm just going to go back again and sorry, guys. You're very used to doing all this, right? But I think Hugo and other people may benefit from this demo. So I think this is it, right? Okay, wallet has been created. Okay, so when we get here, we have an empty wallet. We have a reminder here to back up my seed phrase, which is the secret words that basically are, let's say, the identity of my wallet. And those are the critical ones to back up. You should do that in a piece of paper just for the exercise that we're going to do. But the main thing that I wanted to do in the call before we go is to tell you that you should come to the settings here. So I just went on the three dots and look for active network. So instead of going and working on the Cardano mainnet with real ADA, I want to suggest that we switch this to the pre-production network. And this immediately brands your or stamps pre-production here, pre-prod, and here the same thing. One thing that's noticeable is that now if I do receive on this little button, I can say continue anyway to this message. And you see here that my address starts with address test. So those are the only kinds of addresses that we're going to be working with. And for now, we're going to find some applications that are running just on this test network to make sure that there's no risk and that you can experiment with things very easily. The simplest thing that we can do and that we're going to be doing, I'm going to make a note to start with that as well, is to send transactions between ourselves. So I'm going to add here, send test TXs between ourselves. Hopefully we have more people that have signed up already for the sessions, and we're going to try to have more participants here so that we can have this dynamics be a bit more populated with users. Okay, any questions? Aomi, that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes sense. Someone dropped a comment. I don't know if you've seen that. Um,
Okay, so Hugo is talking about a scam that was, I'm not sure if that even had to do with blockchain or crypto, but a bit like I was saying when we were talking about digital rights and the digital books, there's what's happening on the blockchain and there's what's happening on the real world. Blockchain is only sort of proof of what happened because it is transparent in the case of Cardano. The blockchain is not going to sue you. It may be a tool for lawyers and for anyone else to investigate what happened, to have a trace of things, but it's not going to be a silver bullet for anything. Especially if you lose assets, no one can recover them for you. Or if you bought something that was worth something at the time, apparently in the market, but then it loses its value, no one's going to recover that value for you. So I'm not sure really in terms of legal action. Thanks for asking the question, but like I said before, we are really focusing on the non-financial use cases, and that's why we start with disambiguating here, where we want to focus on Web3 and real-world use cases, not so much on the crypto, because like you were pointing out, it touches a lot on scams and things like those. If you have more literacy about what digital things are, what solid, sound, or fundamented digital things are, probably you're not going to fall for these kinds of scams so much. Okay?
Yeah.
So thanks for asking the question as well.
And now that to that is like a lot of the scam. So whenever you have a new technology, it's normal for people to take advantage of it and to do scams, and whatever people it is. And it's at the end of the day, some of these scams are more like a people's person, right? So I think this girl, she made a meme coin saying Octua, and people go and buy it.
Yeah. We've had, even Trump is making coins now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
But then the question is, what are you expecting? Why are you buying that? Is it utility or something? No,
Yeah.
you're either entering some kind of speculation because you saw that someone bought it and made money, and now you're putting it yourself out of greed. But then that greed makes you vulnerable to scams, and it's more of a human thing, right? Because when you have something like that, you cannot expect any kind of utility or any kind of thing out of it. And if it's created by only one person who has all the power, you always run into this risk of being scammed. And then it's something to consider as well, right? Even with the traditional world and the institutions, everything we talked about, that the problem we want to avoid is this thing of not having total control. And here in this case, in some of these meme coins, that they do not make the check mark of decentralized or anything like that. So you fall onto all the risks that exist in the traditional world. Yeah, I would say this, and it's also
Mhm.
important. This is just a technology. At the end of the day, it's about the principles we use it for. I think if you use it for CBDCs to control people, to limit what they can do with their money, it's terrible. If we use it for the opposite, to decentralize, to avoid these things from happening, and to make sure there is agreement of what's good for society, then it can be very good. And then it's up to us people to make sure it is not used in a bad way. And this kind of scams is one of those examples, right?
Yeah. Great stuff. Hugo, I hope that you can join us with the voice in future calls. Maybe you can join this cohort or the one in Portuguese. We're eventually going to have in other languages as well. Thank you so much for your time today, for your input, Rafael. I hope you come by every time you get the chance to. I'm going to share it one more time on screen for you, for our viewers, for anyone watching us asynchronously. Sign up at 45b.io/web3 or connect with us on links.45b.io to follow our socials and be in the loop, even if you're not signing up for the Web3 thing for now. Okay, so Hugo's already gone. We're going to go as well. Oh, he's back. I think you're having trouble in your connection. But yeah, we're closing up. See you next time, usually at this hour of the week, and some other calls. Maybe even if you want, reach out to us so that we can host a call that tailors more to your availability. Okay. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye bye.
See you soon. Bye.